For millions of people who suffer from alcoholism and drug addiction, rehabilitation is often a long, painful struggle. Well, now there's a medication that can help kick the addiction in a single dose. Sydney Kohara reports on this wonder drug and why it's illegal in the United States.
For Greg Douglas, being a rock star and being a drug addict seem to go hand in hand.
Monday, discovered heroin. Tuesday, started making more money. So it was an ill-timed career move.
The Oakland native was a guitarist for the likes of Steve Miller, Van Morrison, and the Greg Kihn Band, playing to huge crowds, even writing a hit single. But eventually, the bright lights came crashing down around him.
I went, during a 10-year period, 1977, top of the charts, playing in front of, 100,000 people, at a time. 10 years later, I was virtually homeless. I was living in my car.
Greg struggled with a heroin and methadone addiction for decades, until 2 years ago, when he discovered a different kind of drug in a clinic just over the San Diego border. A drug that promised to finally help him kick his addictions with just a single treatment. Its name? Ibogaine.
I went into the clinic in Mexico and took Ibogaine once. 20 years of addiction to opiates, heroin, methadone, you name it, ended.
That's right. He says it stopped his addiction cold. Even more startling is the drug's origins. Ibogaine is an ancient root found in the jungles of Africa, where it's been used for centuries in tribal rituals. Researchers believe it contains chemical properties that may affect key receptors in the brain.
It's somewhat like a rapid Prozac. It elevates mood, and it also diminishes cravings.
And there's more. A new study conducted with rats and mice at UC San Francisco shows further evidence that Ibogaine may have a similar effect combating alcohol abuse. So if the drug shows so much promise, why is it illegal here in the United States? Possibly because of something Greg also experienced at that clinic in Mexico. Ibogaine causes hallucinations.
I was laying there with my eyes closed, and this huge whoosh of red light came out of the center of my vision. And it was just like this spectacular, these little particles of red, like red plankton. When I opened my eyes, I was in Mexico. I knew exactly where I was. I knew what day it was. I knew why I was there.
But far from being a controversial side effect, leading Ibogaine researcher Dr. Deborah Mash at the University of Miami School of Medicine believes the hallucinations may be beneficial.
If this is something that helps an individual grab the demon by the tail and gives them insight and makes them motivated to work with their counselor and to stay in treatment, who cares if it's mind-altering?
But the stigma of a hallucinogenic drug made it hard for Dr. Mash to find funding, so she was forced to move her clinical trials offshore. The FDA still doesn't allow Ibogaine use in the U.S., so a growing number of patients are receiving treatment in clinics like the one we visited in Mexico.
What do you feel?
Alcoholic Awilda Penny is one of them.
Now, do you feel like you need a drink?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It's the furthest thing from my mind. I'm just very positive, very upbeat, just looking forward to moving on with my life.
Despite the promise of Ibogaine, there are still some hurdles. Critics worry about potentially lethal side effects and lack of long-term studies. Still, the early results are so encouraging, Dr. Mash has found enough money to start FDA trials again in the spring, possibly paving the way for other addicts like Greg.
I wake up in the morning, and I'm still filled with this sense of wonder that I'm still here. Ibogaine changed everything for me, and it continues to work every day in my life.
In San Francisco, Sydney Kohara, CBS 5 Eyewitness News.
And typical treatments with Ibogaine run anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000.